What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. Man, I don't really know where to begin with this one. Arkansas just dropping a game to Ole Miss, 31-17 in Oxford. And it's late. It's late now. It's taken me a while to gather all my thoughts. And I'm not going to lie, this one took a lot out of me. But there are a lot of things, in my opinion piece that I wrote, Arkansas loses 31-17 to Ole Miss due to self-inflicted wounds. Due to self-inflicted. 31-17 lost to Ole Miss, self-inflicted. That's what it is. And there's a long list of things that you can go down on this one, and I think it starts with quarterback. So let's start with quarterback. What was the issue with quarterback? Arkansas named the wrong guy out of camp. Now, this isn't a bash Ben Hicks time, but Arkansas named the wrong quarterback coming out of camp. Nick Starkel, it's everybody who went and watched camp saw a more talented guy, Nick Starkel, a guy that had more potential, a guy that people were more excited about. And the choice was made to go with Ben Hicks because he had more experience in the offense. They were going to use some young guys, so he was the guy in that sense. And the fact of the matter is, it was the wrong choice, just like Cole Kelly was the wrong choice last year. And I get that you don't really fully know what you got until you go out there and play in a game. I said over and over again that this job is actually decided in September, not in camp. You just name the starter out of camp. You don't earn it really until you get into a game. But Hicks just was not very effective. There's a long list of things we can go over here. He missed a couple of key throws to Devwah Whaley. He had one, it hit the dirt. Well, Devwah had to go down in the dirt to get it. There was another one where he overthrew him. Both of those would have been catch-and-run touchdowns. It wasn't like Arkansas's receivers just started getting open suddenly when Nick Starkel got in there. And the protection wasn't very good. Now, I'll go back and watch with the offensive line, but it didn't take long to see that the offensive line was collapsing pretty badly against their defensive front. But, man, Nick Starkel has a better arm. He knows where he wants to go with the ball. He's just a better quarterback. He's a better fit for this team. Now, Chad Morris didn't name Starkel the starter after the game, but I guarantee I'm going to go ahead and name Nick Starkel the starter. I'll go ahead and do that for you. After he goes back and watches the film, he's obviously going to see what everybody sees. And it may just have been the situation, post-game press conference. Maybe that's not the opportunity that you're looking for to say, yeah, we're going with Nick Starkel from here on out. But they're going with Nick Starkel from here on out. Okay, the problem is I don't want to come down on Ben Hicks because I know he's given everything he's got. But they threw away that first half. And there were some other things that were disappointing. Obviously, there were some drops here and there and stuff like that. There was a lot of things where things just did not go their way. When you think about that 38-yard touchdown pass to Trey Knox, on that drive, they also had that pass play. They should have scored twice on that drive. After that drive, I felt like Arkansas had blew 3 chances at scoring touchdowns. They had, I don't know why Michael Woods didn't throw that pass, but that was a play that they had put together. You could tell that, that was a big deal for him. And it was still a game then. I think that was to tie it. There was 5:50 to go in the third quarter. I'm inserting an edit right here because I need to explain this, but Chad Morris said as much in this post-game press conference, but the reason he didn't throw the pass is because the play was actually designed to go to the right. It would have been an illegal forward pass. So I just wanted to make sure that I interjected and got that in. And then you had the pass to Knox for 38 yards. They get hit with a illegal receiver downfield and Grayson Gunner, who was covered up. And so they lose that. And then later on that drive, Starkel hit O'Grady for what they ruled as a 16-yard catch and also threw a targeting flag on Jalen Julius. And then they go back and review, and O'Grady's knee was down right before, so he was, about 2 yards short, and they overturned the targeting, which were both the right call. It was both the right call, but then and then Rakeem just runs for 1 yard there. Not a fan of the Wildcat. I know that was a big secret thing that they had installed, but it just was not effective. It wasn't working. They used it too much, and it just wasn't effective. There were plenty of other things that cost him. Again, kudos to Cam Curl again for having another standout game, 69-yard fumble return. That made it 17-10. That's the fourth quarter. It's still a game. They can come back and win. That drive where they had to go down there and score, and then they have, Dalton Wagner had that false start and then gave up a sack, right? Just not a very good series for Dalton Wagner there, but that was one that they had to have. And then, right after that, Arkansas has to punt, and they go down and score with 5:58 left. That was the nail in the coffin to make it 31-10. There were chances. I mean, that's why I say it's self-inflicted. There were chances, and people can complain about the play calling, I know, but I don't know. Starkel didn't seem to have a problem executing the plays. The problem was when Starkel was in there, they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. They just kept making mistakes. But Nick Starkel's your starting quarterback. I don't think there's any question about that. I didn't like the Wildcat stuff. There were other things that I didn't like, but I do feel like moving forward, if this team can hold it together, because that's always a challenge after a loss like this, if the team can hold it together, Nick Starkel's your starting quarterback. You've got a couple of games here where you can regroup and start building on some stuff, and maybe you got a chance to beat some of the worst teams in this conference. I mean, there's still Kentucky and Missouri and down the road and Mississippi State. Those are games that Arkansas can potentially win. I actually didn't predict them to win this game just because I felt like going on the road in the SEC with a young team is very difficult. I thought it would be a little bit closer. It was close until, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But I didn't put it past them that they could win the game. And to be honest with you, they could have won the game if they didn't make some mistakes. Ole Miss isn't that good. They're not that good of a team. I think Arkansas's defense got completely worn out by the end of the game. They played 77 snaps, 32 minutes, 77 snaps. The heat, you could tell that was starting to get some people with cramping. Scooter Harris, for example. So the defense, I thought, played well overall, but at the end of the game, they were just spent. You could tell. And, you got some freshmen in there. Gregory Brooks didn't play the best game that he's ever – well, he's only played one other one, but he didn't play the best game. But he is a freshman. They obviously losing Dorian Gerald definitely hurt them, but it was an opportunity. They could have, if they'd have played a cleaner game and if they'd gone with Nick Starkel, I think they could have won the game. I really do. All right, everybody, let's see what we've got here. Got a few questions. Terry Roy says full tilt boogie. Wasn't much full tilt boogie. I mean, you did see, though, the third and fourth quarter in the second half. I mean, they were able to move the ball. They had something going. Like I said, it wasn't the only time that Hicks made plays was when everything broke down. That one pass he had to Mike Woods was, I mean, there was some luck involved in there, which, that happens in football, not to take that away. But really the play would break down, and that's when, Hicks was completing passes. But Starkel was he was getting the ball out quickly. He knew where he wanted to go with the ball. He trusted his arm. I mean, two different levels at quarterback there. Mark Warman says, we look more talented but did not execute, period. I thought that's probably true. Now, more talented but younger. So Ben Hicks went 7 of 16 for 98 yards. Okay, that's the second game in a row he's gone under 50%. It wasn't just because of drops and stuff. I mean, he just wasn't throwing the ball very well. Wasn't finding the open receivers. I mean, the pocket was collapsing on him. But like I said, Starkel 17 of 24. That's 70% for 201 yards. One guy has a 95 passer rating. The other guy has a 154 passer rating. Rakeem Boyd, 17 carries. This was not a game that I wanted to see Rakeem Boyd get fewer than 25 rushes. Arkansas only had, how many plays did they run? 67 plays. That's enough plays to have Rakeem Boyd have 25 carries. Now, the problem with Arkansas's running game is it's just Rakeem Boyd, and it's just Devion Warren on end arounds and jet sweeps. That's it. Devaw didn't have a very good game for the second time in a row. Had that fumble, which was extremely costly. Well, it would have been costly, but, I mean, Arkansas could have gone down and scored, but Cameron Curl had the fumble strip and 69-yard return, which Cameron Curl, again, another stellar day for him. But Arkansas's got to figure something out. Chase Hayden hasn't played very well. 1 carry for 6 yards. Just not very aggressive. So, yeah, it's been Rakeem Boyd, and that's all you've got at running back right now. You've got some receivers. How did Trey Knox end up with 6 catches? He did. with a long of 49. Targeted 11 times. The one that was, Traylon Burks didn't really get involved there until the end, but 2 catches for 28 yards, targeted 3 times. I would have liked to seen Traylon get targeted a little bit more. Good to see Colin Jackson get into the end zone there at the end. But I don't know. I wasn't impressed with Ole Miss. I wasn't impressed with Arkansas, although more impressed with the second half. It's just like too many mistakes. Every drive seemed to end in a mistake. All right, let's get to some questions, people. I'm sorry. I'm dragged. Like I said, this one took a lot out of me. It is 12:30 a.m. Dustin Rain says, should have hired Jeff Brom or Matt Campbell. I don't know that it's time to just say, like, Chad Morris isn't the answer. I think they made a mistake not naming Nick Starkel the starting quarterback. That was their first mistake. But aside from, like, the Wildcat, which it just wasn't effective. It wasn't working. Aside from that, I'm not going to sit here and say, and I'll go back and watch it again, but I'm not going to say the play calling was the issue. The personnel and maybe some of the people that you're going with, maybe that was a little bit more issue. Jonathan Sims says, go find Bobby P. What happened to Caps? I noticed Stromberg was at left guard a lot. Yeah, I mean, Caps got rolled up in the last game. Billy Harper says maybe Arkansas needs to move to the American Conference. It would be nice to see Arkansas win some games. I mean, goodness gracious, it's been a long 7 years, hasn't it? I don't think this is the end. I mean, this was a big opportunity. There's no question they had this game circled on the calendar. I had it circled. I knew how big, everybody knew how big a game this was. And, kind of my prediction going in was I thought Arkansas was going to win, but I picked them to lose. That's how torn I was on it because I knew that they could win it, but I also knew they got a lot of young guys going in there. I kind of thought maybe they'd get scrounged, that kind of deal, I do think that there were some calls that went against them, some questionable personal foul or a questionable pass interference and stuff like that, but I don't think that cost Arkansas the game. What cost Arkansas the game was just not being there in the first half, not having the right guy in at quarterback in the first half. Ashley Nelson Horn says, my son had to medically retire last week. He will stay on as a student assistant with Coach True. Oh, Audrey Horn? Sorry to hear that. Audrey Horn medically retired, according to Ashley Nelson Horn. Tommy Harness says the trick play wasn't supposed to go to Woods. It's supposed to go to the right, and Woods was the backup if they couldn't get it. That's why he freaked out when he got it. Okay, I guess maybe did I miss something on that? I haven't listened. To be honest, I haven't listened. And Pete Roulier, let's go to Pete, actually. So Pete was there in Oxford for this one. Let's go to him, see what he has to say. If I can get him on the horn.
Hello.
Hey, Pete. How you doing, man? Tough one down there.
Oh yeah, it's a rough scene. Everyone's pretty disappointed. Talk about Arkansas coaches, players, and the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't really a pretty offensive game, and I guess I don't know what people were going to expect coming out of that Portland State game, but not a pretty offensive performance.
Yeah, better play from the quarterback. So Chad Morris declined to name Nick Starkel the starting quarterback.
Yes, he said he'd go in and they'd reevaluate the film. It's kind of how Chad Morris just does things these days, of
well,
leaves you on empty.
If he'd seen it from the angle that we saw it, there's not really much of a question about who should be the starting quarterback. So what are your impressions on the game? What was the mood there in the press box watching from there?
Well, I think it felt like Ole Miss had the game pretty much in the bag for a while there until the Cam Curl 69-yard return. And it felt like, hey, especially since Arkansas's got Nick Starkel in the game, he provided that spark. Never really finished the drive. Like they had plenty of opportunities to finish the drive, but then the illegal formation after the Trey Knox touchdown had to come back. It felt like maybe Starkel could lead him back after that curl. 69-yard touchdown return, fumble recovery. Mm-hmm. But just shooting themselves in the foot like they did against Portland State, and you can't go on the road in the SEC and win games or you shoot yourself in the foot like that.
It just seemed like one thing after another didn't go their way. They had that big touchdown pass to Trey Knox. It looked like some real momentum's going there. I mean, I believe it was 10-3 at that point, isn't it? I mean, that's to tie it up, and then you get an illegal receiver downfield, and then C.J. O'Grady gets a first down, and they get a targeting call. They go back and review, and it turns out O'Grady's knee went down 2 yards before the marker.
And
then
that was a tough one. That was a really tough one because that was right after the play that Knox could have tied the game.
Exactly.
And it looked from our perspective, it looked like he had the first down, and it looked like targeting. And then you get neither one of those.
Yeah.
So that was a big
Well, neither one of them. I mean, he was down and it wasn't targeting. I mean, they got the call right, but Arkansas just couldn't seem to get anything going their way. Some pass interference penalties that I thought were a little bit questionable. I thought the defense just got totally spent there at the end. Is that kind of the impression that you guys got? Just completely ran out of gas.
They were on the field way too much.
Yeah.
And then absolutely near the end there was really nothing that they could do to. Ole Miss had it rolling there at the end, and the secondary especially was absolutely just spent. And give the young guys up front credit. They had to use a lot of young guys from say Jonathan Marshall played pretty well tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Solely did the best that he could. But if you're out there for that long, and the secondary is going to have to, they're going to have to find some other guys that can play because. Yeah, that was rough there.
I thought the defensive line played, and I'll go back and watch the game, but I thought they played well enough.
Mm-hmm.
But, at the end, I think they were just completely worn out. Ole Miss's offensive line isn't very good. They're just not. And Arkansas was getting some penetration, but it just,
I said before the game that I thought a key was going to try to hold down Matt Corral and his legs, and they really couldn't seem to do that. Matt Corral, he was making play after play with his legs, and I think that was by design. Ole Miss watched the film against Portland State, and they saw what they could do to attack it, and that's what they did, and give them credit because their game plan worked perfectly.
Yeah. All right, Pete, anything else to add before we let you go?
No, nothing else to add. It's just it was just a tough loss for Arkansas, but it really is early on in the season, and a lot of the mistakes that were made were by young guys.
Yeah.
So covering up the tight end with Treylon Burks and that call that Trey Knox got called back on, that's something that can be fixed. But this was a big game for both teams, and Ole Miss came out on top, and that's a big win for them.
Yep, tough to win on the road. All right, thanks, Pete.
Yep, take it easy.
But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't dead tired right now. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Definitely a disappointing showing for Arkansas in Oxford, a game that I think they could have won. A game where they really shot themselves in the foot numerous times. And we'll see. It's not the end of the world. It just feels like it. Maybe that's fair to say. So I want to remind everybody there's plenty of ways to watch and listen. You can watch on Facebook Live, always streaming the show on Facebook Live. And you can also watch on YouTube. Be sure to throw a thumbs up and hit that notifications bell. Listen on Apple Podcasts. Throw us a 5-star review, Spotify, and Stitcher. All right, for Pete Roulier, this has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.